This is Moose and Baby Buffalo.
And you're getting ready to listen to the Bleach Bros Podcast with B-Word and his good little buddy Jake. Jake the hater. Jake the tailgater. Jake the master.
Whoa. I don't think that's one of his nicknames.
Oh, you're right. You're getting ready to listen to B-Word and Jake from the Bleach Bros Podcast.
Get ready to get sanitized. Welcome into the Bleach Brothers Podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual, I am here with my good buddy Jake. Jake, how you doing tonight, my man?
We're here.
Yeah,
I'm good.
a little
tired.
melancholy.
Did a lot. We've been recording a lot, doing a lot, reading a lot, talking a lot. Life's just busy, man. Like as Ferris Bueller would say, life comes at you pretty fast. If you don't stop around, look once in a while, like you might miss your dick or however.
Yeah, I don't think that's what he said, but pretty close, maybe.
Well, that's fine.
Pretty close, maybe.
Halfway there.
I will say, man, like we've been doing quite a bit. I want to I just want to plug our Patreon. I know that we plug it, and for those of you that are never going to subscribe, like you could probably fast forward 10 seconds or whatever, but for those of you that have subscribed, I truly just want to thank you for doing so. It's helped us out creatively. We're doing a couple different things on the website that are pretty fucking awesome. And we're coming out with some new shows. Stain Remover the newest Stain Remover will be out this week that this episode comes out. We've been having a lot of fun with that, and also go over and support the Hateful Gnome. We're doing some good stuff over there. Jake and Gnome from Dads on Dayquil are putting in some work to, not only interview bands, but also interview some pretty cool creators. So I just want to take this moment and just say thank you. It's just been really, really fun to do this. Really, really fun to be a part of it. And so, Jake, you're doing a good job all the way around, man. Just seriously, as a friend and as a partner in this project here. I don't want to get too, heartfelt here because you're still a fucking puto, but, it's been pretty fun, man.
No, I'm winning the Pooh's toes. I'll say this though. You, put in a ton behind the scenes, and it's not, we're sitting here just to pat each other on the dick, but, the show's fun. Thank you to everybody who subscribes. Thank you to everybody that listens. Thank you to everybody who supports in any way you can. I mean, merch, Patreon, whatever. We plug it, but also just feedback. Yeah. I love whenever I talk to random fans, and sometimes they're close friends. Sometimes it's just messages you get of what they enjoy. My favorite thing that I ever get, though, out of a compliment is that we have great chemistry. And I do agree that it is built that you can build chemistry with people. The nice thing about it is, B-Word, it's just us. Like, we've been friends for so long. It's like easy to talk to you. It's easy just to have these, like, we would have these conversations regardless. Yeah. Like we come up with a rundown. And I mean, I've had people go like, how do you know about your next episode? And there are times we really plan it out. Like, the Super one, we plan that out since like December, and who we're going to have and why and stuff. But then there's times it's like Sunday, like, hey, what are we going to, I don't know. Let's just fucking freeball it. Or let's talk about Ninja Turtles, or let's talk Marvel, or let's talk, Leonardo DiCaprio movies, whatever. It's easy. It's fun. It's nice. You let me be me, and I let you be you. And not also to get too heartfelt, but it's something I look forward to every week. Yeah. And it's funny because we've had times where it's like, I don't want to fucking record. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I am not in the mood. And it's like one of us will bring each other out of it, or we'll hit record, and it's not that we're show ponies and you have to make sure because the spotlight's on you to perform, but it's the sense that it's real, and we understand our fans like the realisticness of us. Right. If that makes sense. And it's enjoyable.
Well, I will tell you, we did post some questions to our social media followers this week, and specifically we had quite a bit of activity in our Discord that I want to just kind of bring up. But when we start talking about, okay, well, what do we want to talk about? And maybe this is one of those episodes that we really didn't know we wanted to talk about, but I think we have a really cool rundown here. We immediately said, well, let's do some Would You Rather. And we wanted some would you rather, not only as a discussion point, but also to help people get involved. So I did pose the question to our social media. And yes, thank you for those on social media who did that. But if you're not in our Discord, this is where the conversation's happening. And so I do want to read some of these out. So Maddie Mish from the 69 Whiskey podcast and the Bromigos podcast.
And Bromingos. Yeah.
He has a fan requested would you rather that I'm going to shoot your way, and then I'll answer it as well. So would you rather suck your worst enemy's dick to completion, or would you rather get pegged by your significant other and you get $100 million either way?
Oh, pegged for sure. Sexual anonymity. What is
anonymity?
It? Anonymity. What does anonymity mean?
Anonymous.
Let's explain that to me
Anonymous,
first.
it means that nobody's going to find out.
Oh, wait, no. What's the word? Sexual autonomy?
Autonomy?
What word am I?
I have no clue what you're trying to say, Jake.
All right. So what I'm trying to say is freedom in the bedroom is great. Bald Eagle freedom party with my nuts. Okay. If my wife wanted to try something, I'm all for it. I don't care who I'm not shaming myself on here. If my wife and me sat down and had a logical conversation of like, hey, I want to try this, I'd probably do it for her. No problem. Now, I did think about this though at first, like, would I ever suck a penis? Probably no. and I'm gonna really preface this with probably, because first I went, who's my greatest enemy? And I couldn't really think of one, but I went, well, I could make B word my enemy, and that doesn't seem that bad of a frenulum to suck. Because and what's the situation? Like, one, I'm getting paid $100 million, but that's besides the point. Like, why are you my enemy and why am I sucking your dick? Like, I want the backstory of how, like, I know the backstory of why my wife pegged me. Okay. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, my wife came to me and said, I want to shove it in your ass. I'm going to go, all right, fine. But if like somebody came to me and said, you have to suck your enemy off, I want to go, how did I get here? Like, why am I in their Guantanamo Bay of cock? Like, what?
Well, it's like,
why am I sucking your dick?
It's like that intro to those videos. It's like, yep, that's me. And you're probably wondering how I got here. And I
well, it's a long story, but here it goes.
I think I'm with you, dude. Like, I don't know that first off, I'm not a dick sucker. So let's just call it what it is. And the only out that I have here is that I don't have a significant other at the moment.
I was going to ask you if you don't have
I'm
one,
gonna
so that doesn't
mail
count, right?
Ride that shit, dude. Like I will. I'm getting $100 million, dude. Like I'll mail order bride that.
I don't want to be paid. I'm going to be upfront here. I didn't fucking care about the money. I want to know about the sexual activity.
I'm really happy.
Okay, we know. So we know how my train
Matt,
rolls.
The answer specifically for Jake is that he will. He'll just take it in the ass for free. So
yeah. I'm becoming a wobbly. I'm the middle of the wobbly H for everybody.
That's true. So Josh from Apple Boys said, "Would you rather be highly productive, solving all sorts of problems and doing amazing work in everything you do, but nobody ever recognizes it or gives you credit? So other people always get credit for your glory, or you suck at everything and are basically incompetent, but you always get credit, promotions, etc." But you know deep down that you're a fraud. So I'm going to pause you right there. Because I know your answer. You don't know my answer. How do you know what's
your
my answer? Is like, you're just going to take the fucking promotions. You don't give a fuck.
Fuck yeah, I'm going to be incompetent.
Be like, suck my dick.
Guess what? I'm sucking my enemy's dick to fucking get her promotion. And guess what? I did a bad job at sucking their dick too.
So I think for me, I would probably go with the other one just because I do have a sense of pride in what I do. So that's that. So Josh, thank you for that one.
Well, I'll say this before you move on to the next one. Like it's like the Hateful Gnome, right? Like another show of ours. And if you subscribe to it, great. And if you listen to it, great. Thank you very much. But like, you're the producer, and I know we talk about it on the show, but people might not know that because I mean, you're behind the curtain, right? So you don't need the credit on the show. You can have it, but I mean, you could do that show and nobody would ever know, right? And like that's the perfect example. Now me, I have to be the talent. Everybody needs to know that I said the stupid shit. Like, I'm going to suck the dick, right? I'm going to do the stupid shit, and I want credit. I want the credit. I want the frenulum credit, bro. That's the MacGuffin of my life. MacGuffin.
Yeah. Duck off. So Rob from the Apple Boys podcast asked us, would you rather have an obvious orgasm whenever you're in the presence of fruit? So I imagine you're going to have wet pants or, whatever, or you can never nut again.
I want you to go first.
Oh, dude, I
want to hear.
I'm coming all over the fucking fruit, dude. You mean to tell me like I will never nut again? Like no, like like if I was 70, okay, whatever, fine. I'm not 70. Like I'm late 30s, bro. That shit still works. So I'm gonna come all over fucking kiwis and shit.
I'm gonna nut on fruit, but I will tell you this, a true story and how stupid I can be at times. When I just recently got snipped. We talked about it on the show. I recorded an episode while it, but I really was convinced that I would never come again. Like I was like I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't smart enough to realize like that semen, all that stuff still came out.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it snips, and now I'm going to be like Puff the Magic Dragon, and I'm going to just
poof
on my wife when I finish. But fruit, I mean, that's a long way to say that I'm a moron about my own balls, but I want to come on fruit. All right, what's your favorite fruit to come on then?
Malt balls.
That's not a fruit.
I know, but I don't really know what.
Then again, wait, hold on. Cocoa beans are technically from a fruit pod.
There we go.
So therefore, chocolate is a fruit.
And nougat.
And Geo-Dub eats
is nougat something? Because that's like
nougat. I don't know what nougat is. Nougat's like a fluffy whipped chocolate.
I think you just described me
like
fluffy and whipped. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
All right. So Aaron from the I Had to Say It podcast said, "Would you rather have to watch your grandparents fuck, or have a threesome with the chicks from 1,000 Pound Sisters?"
Oh.
Oh shit!
The problem is like I can already smell this, like on both ends. Like I can smell mothballs clapping, and I can also smell the 1,000 pounds. Like, all right, like because here's the problem. Like when I see a super fatty, right, like those 600-pound lifes and stuff, all I think is like somewhere in there is a crease that's just gonna like be rank. Like there's a
like
ranky
your ex's
crease.
belly button.
Remember my ex never washed her belly button, and she had a fear. And so one time, true story, everybody, I had this girl, and she was smoking. She was a smoke show, right? She was hot.
She was too hot for what her personality was, though.
Exactly. Well, she sucks. I mean, because I'll get into why she sucks at another time, but she didn't wash her belly button. And so I had to test this theory, right? And the reason I can smell these creases is because I smelt this crease. One night I'm laying on her stomach, and I thought it'd be funny to shove my finger in her belly button, which it was too tight. It was the weirdest belly button ever. It was like the tightest little belly button ever. It was like I just shoved it, and my finger got stuck. And I don't know if it's because something was in there or what, but my finger got stuck, and I yanked it out, and it was like, exactly. And it stunk so fucking bad, B-word. And she was so mad at me. And I went, what the I thought she wasn't serious. And then I smelled it. And that's what I imagine the 1,000 Pound Sisters creases are like, except there's multiple folds. There's folds on folds. I will say I fucked a lot in my day. And there's a lot I would do. But I'm watching my grandparents have sex. Dude,
okay.
Because I could get over that, I think. I don't think I could get over that unless maybe I'm coming on a pineapple at the end. I'll go back to the last question.
Who came in a pineapple into the sea? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And here's my out. Okay. I'm a fat guy. I got a belly. Okay. I have a standard wide issue penis. Like I have to reach past my belly to get into the glory hole. Right. And if they've got bellies too, like specifically 1,000-pound bellies, I don't think I'm doing it. So I think I would have to like resort to like an armpit or like a under boob roll or something of that nature.
A crease. You're fucking one of the smelly creases. Yeah. Can I ask you this? Because you, as you said, you're a fat person. Do you only fuck doggy style?
No.
All right. So what's your favorite position as a big person?
Oh, I don't know, dude.
How's that work?
It works just fine.
I know it works. No, it doesn't work just the same. It doesn't work just the same, B-word. Because you just said you have to reach under, and it wouldn't work with that on you. Like what's your favorite position and what works the best for you? I want to know this. Let's get into it.
Shit, I don't know. Whatever position works. I honestly, woman on top is probably like ideal as long as she knows what she's doing.
Okay.
I mean, I think every guy would say that, but
I like being on top.
Oh, okay. Well, you're weird, but whatever. Yeah. So Aaron is also a chef, and he also has a chef question for you. And so I'm just going to have you answer this one yourself. I'm not even going to answer this. Would you rather drink rancid chocolate milk or eat spoiled meat?
I hate chocolate milk in general. I think it's fucking gross already. However, spoiled meat's one of the grossest smelling things on the planet. And no matter what you do to it, I've eaten spoiled meat and I can't handle it. I've drank in chunky milk. Not on purpose. I didn't go like seek it out, but I could deal with chunky chocolate milk, I think, comparatively to rotten meat. Because rotten meat it's like, they're both disgusting. But it's weird. It's like we eat dairy products that are essentially bad, right?
Right.
So you can handle that. You can't handle rotten meat as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm also thinking of the aftermath. I'm not just thinking like the tongue and the swallowing and the taste. It's the aftermath afterwards. I know less harm will be done to me from the bad rancid milk comparatively to the rotten meat. So I'm going to go with that.
Not even answering it. I'll puke if I answer that question. Okay. So last two questions here, at least from the Discord. Jay from the Porn Stash podcast. Would you rather shit your pants every time you sneeze or piss your pants every time you coughed?
See, I read this earlier and I'm pissing my pants all day.
I think so.
I've never shit myself, but I've pissed my pants plenty of times, and I'll say that out loud.
I was sick enough one time where I actually shit my pants, and that was not a fun experience, but I would go with piss all day long.
Well, I mean, because like every man is essentially pissing their pants almost every day. Like if you do
dribble,
the shake, right, and you put it back. Yeah. Like you ever have the dribblies are the worst. Like when you put your wiener back and you take that step away from the urinal and then it just comes out. It's like, that's the worst. I can handle that. I can handle peeing my pants and letting it dry because I mean, especially if you stay hydrated, your urine's not as bad unless you're eating a shit ton of asparagus. Like shit is shit. Like there's no rhyme or reason to make it right.
Right.
So yeah, I'm pissing my pants.
All right. Last question from our Discord. Again, from Porn Stash J. Would you rather eat Lizzo's pussy after a 2-hour performance or fuck a cactus?
Oh, fuck a cactus. And I want to pick the cactus. And I actually have a cactus story. So when I was a kid, you know, the paddle cactuses, I'll call them, the smooth ones that are like, the big. So when I was a kid, this is no, not a Joshua tree. Like the ones that are like the big. Joshua trees are like tall and like spiky. They look like weird, like palm trees that you can kick over. Cactuses that are paddles are like, they're just the big green, like you can make tortillas out of them. They're fucking great.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Ones. I know what you're talking about.
Not super spiky, but they have the little spines, right? So I was a kid. I was like 4 or 5 years old. No joke. And I thought it felt so cool. So I kept rubbing my hand up and down this cactus and thought it was the coolest feeling. And all the splinters got on my hand. And the next day my hands were swollen. And it was the worst feeling ever. However, there were parts of it that feel good. So, based on that deduction, I would fuck the cactus because also Lizzo fucking sucks. And so I'm not touching that with your penis.
I'm going to go with the cactus as well. So, did you prepare any would you rathers?
I did. And I'll say this because those were fun from our fans and thank you. But I tried to come up with some that were a little more thought provoking. I know that we talked about it, like not just like do you want penises for fingers or vaginas for toes or whatever. But I tried to think of some that like would get the conversation like really rolling. And one's gonna preface back to last week's episode where we talked about sports and stuff. And so mine first one to you was: would you rather be a pro basketball player now or in the '90s era, the greatest era of basketball?
Well, I guess it would depend on what my level of skill would be.
Well, you're a pro basketball player. I mean, you can quit. You don't have to be the greatest player of all time, but you don't have to be the worst player of all time.
And it would also depend on what the longevity would be. So as an example, if I was decent, okay, so I was a decent NBA player with an average of, 5 to 10 years in the league, something like that, I think I would probably want to do it now because the pay's higher. But if I had any sort of shot to become the greatest, I'd want to do it in the 90s.
Just so you go up against because you believe Michael Jordan's the greatest,
I do.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have another one here for you.
Okay.
And this is for the degenerate in you. So
Okay.
you flip a coin for a chance to win $20, or you don't flip the coin and you immediately win $10.
Flip a coin. I want to double my money, and I also it's just the chance. It's the feeling of like winning or losing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you ever see the movie Two for the Money with Al Pacino and Matthew McConaughey?
Mm-hmm.
Where they go to the Gamblers Anonymous meeting to pick up like gamblers for their hotline or whatever. But he's like, we're lemons. Like, we want to lose, like that feeling of losing. Not that I enjoy losing, but like there's something to be said of the thrill when the coin's in the air. Like, I would rather have that moment, not knowing the outcome and feeling that, and like the excitement and the fear and all those emotions that go with that coin flip, rather than somebody handing me $10.
Okay.
Because I'll spend that $10. I'll put it away. If I win the 20, I feel like it's more than $20 to me at that point too. Like, what would you do?
I would take the $10.
Why?
Because it's guaranteed.
See, I don't live
Yeah.
that way. Would you be Will Smith after the slap, but you got an Oscar, or be Bill Cosby and you might have the allegations?
Jesus. Will Smith all day, dude. I am not doing a Bill Cosby. There's no fucking way.
I really wanted to see if you were like, I'm going to go, like, because I thought when I wrote this question, I wrote either Bill Cosby or Louis C.K. And Louis C.K. for the fact that everybody knows like your thing. Like, I don't know if you saw that recent joke where he's like, everybody knows my thing.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I like this. But I also went, if you're Bill Cosby, you could get away with it, P-word. But like, if you're Will Smith, everybody knows that you did what you did.
Well, there's that. There's that.
You're going to be Will Smith?
I'm Will Smith, 100%. 100%. All right. So would you rather win $25,000 or have your best friend win $100,000?
My best friend win $100,000. The reason is you should relish in people's success stories, even if they're not your own. Two, if you would win the money, and I'm not saying you would give me money, but I know part of that, the selfish side of me, would go into this show or something, right? But three, I would rather somebody get more than I could gain a little amount, if that makes sense. Like, I know I'm only going to get 25,000, right? But if I knew to give it up, you would get 100,000. I'd rather you make more money on it, because also fuck the government. Like, they're going to take money from me anyways. They're going to take money from you, and you have a bigger share, and that's more fair in my opinion.
Okay.
So I don't know what you ate last. So I want to know that first. What was the last meal you ate?
I had chicken, baked chicken.
Okay. So you can only eat your last meal forever. So baked chicken forever for the rest of your life. And it was as good as it was, right? It tasted great. Or you can have your dream meal forever. However, every time you sat down, you have a 50-50 chance that it's going to taste like dog shit.
Oh, I'd probably go with the chicken.
You're eating baked chicken
I'd
for the rest
probably
of
eat
your life.
baked chicken for the rest of my life, because I don't really want to taste dog shit.
I'm going for the dog shit.
I figured.
And the reason is because I would rather have my dream meal, right? And because the meal can change, but also it would help me lose weight. In the sense, like, if I'm just being honest, like, if, like, not that I need to lose a ton, but like, let's say one night I sat down, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have this, like, lobster and and I took one bite and it tastes like dog shit. I know I don't have to finish the meal. I'm not required to. So I can be like, well, just not eating tonight. Fuck it. And I walk off, instead of every night having the mundane, like, thing. Like, and it's one of those things you can't prepare for it. Like, oh, I ate, like, like, I'm glad you didn't say Arby's, because that would have really sucked for you. Dude. Because you have a 50-50 chance that it always tastes like dog shit.
Yeah, and 100% chance that you're going to get sick every night. Yeah, I'm just not going to do that. All right, man, this is my last one. Would you rather fight a chicken to the death every time you get into a car, or fight an orangutan to the death once a year, but you get a sword?
Chicken to death, because then I could bake you a chicken every night and you can eat it for the rest of your life. No, I mean, I could fucking fuck up a chicken. I'm not afraid of that. Dude, I would have fun with it too. One time I'd do a cockfight with it, if you know what I mean. I like show up naked and fucking hit it with my boner. I would, and everybody knows poultry and me go very well together. So
Fowl and you go very well together.
Whatever. I would do that. An orangutan's fucking me up, dude.
Straight
There's
up.
no way I win.
Straight up. Yeah, there's no way.
I mean, Like, there's a chance. Like, I'm not AJ from Dad's on Dayquil, the stone, where I could beat up a puma. But there's no way you're fucking winning against an ape, dude.
No.
There's no fucking way.
Like, I'll just seal my fate right there. I'd fight a chicken.
Let me ask you this last one. Would you rather have the biggest dong in the world, but you have to lay eggs in public, like butt naked, right? Like a duck or a chicken or whatever fowl you want. Or have the penis you have now, but girls come over and they get to laugh at it before they sleep.
Oh, dude, I would lay an egg in public all day long. Why is that even a question? That's because like,
I want people to laugh at my dong. I'm so for the laugh at dong moment, dude. I'm so for that. It's so funny, dude. Because here's the thing: you're still fucking them. Like, they're gonna come over and laugh at it. Then guess what? It's still in you. Like, I'm gonna Krusty the Clown that, dude.
oh,
Like, fuck.
fuck.
Like, oh, you laughed at my tiny wiener and it went inside you. Oh, it sucks to be me. While B-Word's out there buck naked, fucking laying eggs,
dude, straight up. Well, see, the thing is, in this market, I could sell those eggs too, like your brother with those ostrich eggs, straight up.
I laugh so hard. I know I don't mean to go on a side note, but every time I go back, he's like, "Hey, what do you want for dinner?" And we talk, and this always comes up. B-Word, he'll be like, "We can have this." And he goes, "Or I got a bunch of ostrich eggs." Like, every fucking time.
I swear to God,
he's like, "I got an ostrich if you want to eat it."
Yeah. And they're actually really good, but yeah, weird, dude.
They are, but dude, like,
absolutely
who the
weird.
fuck does that?
Absolutely weird. I love you, brother. Well, with that, man, let's take a real quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Gnome, your favorite metal-loving midget. Do you love music? How about heavy music with some nice gutter rolls and amazing breakdowns? Look no further. Come join Jake the Hater and myself for your bi-weekly heavy music content. We bring you our newest singles and album recommendations. We are also bringing you new artists you may have never heard before. We are now streaming with a new RSS feed on Spreaker Prime. Come subscribe, like, and review. Also check out our Linktree for all our socials, feeds, and of course our very own Spotify playlist. Horns up and stay heavy.
All right, Jake, we're back. Thank you to Spreaker for those great ads. I hope you enjoyed those. I've got a question for you, dude. There's been a lot of shit that's been going on lately in the realm of conspiracy theories, right? There's a lot of people who have had theories about COVID, a lot of people who have had theories about the government, et cetera, so forth. What are some conspiracy theories that you actually believe in?
And Alex Jones, lizard people. I'm not going to lie. I am somebody that really believes and I'm not just saying lizard people, but there is some other form of intelligent life on this planet that is manipulating things and living. I really believe that.
Do you think
I have no shame of hiding.
Do you think it's on this planet or in this planet? Because you could probably sell me that it's in this planet.
Oh, I'm not a center of the earth person. No. I just believe that they're here. They're here. They're doing something. I mean, how do you explain that we went from like fucking nothing forever, right? Like there was a slow growth of intelligence and stuff. And then all of a sudden, like the 40s hit and everybody fucking can build everything now.
Yeah. Well, I think
like the power of the world is in the palm of your hands at all moments.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think it's a really interesting concept because I do think that there is something manipulating our technology. I tend to lean that there's actually a civilization in the center of the earth. Whether that's true or not, that would be something that would be really cool for me. But lately I've been, like I said, I've said this on the show a few times now, but that Younger Dryas event, there's actually explanations as to why technology boomed in those things. So, I'll send you a couple videos outside of this that maybe you can watch and enjoy. But, okay. So my number one conspiracy theory that I think that happened 100% in Illinois, right outside of Chicago. There's like 17 locations of Mattress Firm within a half a mile of each other. Okay. I think it's a giant money laundering operation. It's
really,
yeah, because obviously they have the mob in Chicago. And seriously, like right outside of Chicago, there's 17 Mattress Firm locations within a half a mile of each other. Like, how do you explain that? Like, according to Reddit, some Reddit users that I've read and everything like that, there's been cases where Mattress Firm has literally been on multiple corners of an intersection. Like, it's just why? It's almost like the Dollar General and the Dollar Trees. Like, they're just fucking everywhere, dude.
The worst joke for that is they're putting money under their mattress.
But
the reality is, though, like, I could see it. But then again, like it is funny because my wife moved here with me, like, right when I convinced her that it was nice here. And she joked there's so many fucking mattress stores, not all the same ones. Like, you know, we have Be Bed Smart, Shop Bed Mart, and Mattress Firm, and, like, you know, whatever else there is. And until I lived here, I never saw so many fucking mattress commercials or stores or anything. I don't know. I think people have really gotten into sleep. Like, people have really gotten into comfort. So I don't see a problem with it. I think also because it's smarter for them for delivery purposes.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think about it. There's only so much room that you can hold a mattress, which is full foam and has to take up so much space, right? So it's easier to do multiple locations and then try to keep one warehouse and stack them on top of each other and have your product have.
But within a half a mile.
Yeah. There's a lot of people, man.
It's dumb. That's dumb.
Pivot.
What's your next conspiracy theory?
Have you ever heard of the Black Knight satellite?
No.
So there's apparently something, I think it's called the Black Knight, flying above us, and it's this, like, people say it's a spaceship, right? And it's been monitoring Earth for years, and you can see grainy photos of it online, which I find funny because everything's a grainy photo, right? But if you look it up, it's essentially in our satellite system where it looks like a ship that's been hovering over Earth and watching us for years. And I really think it's an alien spaceship. I really do. And it has been watching us and monitoring us for whatever reason. I don't think it's part of our government. I don't think it's part of another government, because if it is, we shoot those balloons down. But it is the point that it's been there forever, right? And why and what is it and how come they have photos of it? And it's not one of those things where, like, it feels like people made it up, because it's confirmed, like, from a lot of sites and stuff, that it has to be there. You know, they have the coordinates, they have all that. And so I really think that's an alien ship up there. It's
probably space garbage.
I could be wrong. Maybe. But I mean, why is it floating in the same manner and look like it's a ship? However, then I'm like, why don't we just fucking fly up there and look at it? Like, if we already send people up to the satellite, right? It's not like it's like on the moon and we have to go, like, really spend money to try to get there, or Mars or something, right? But I don't know. I really think it is a ship that we just don't want to fuck with.
Okay, I could see that. I don't know how true I believe that, but I could see that. Okay, now I'm going to get kind of fucking way out of bounds here. And I'm not talking one specific event, okay? So I'm not talking like 9/11. I'm not talking about all this sort of shit. But I truly believe that the U.S. government plans events to disrupt or create the need for the federal government, meaning that the people have to be dependent on the federal government, whether that is mass shootings, whether that is events. I'm not saying September 11th, but like that, where it creates a catastrophe situation. I don't know, maybe a train being derailed with toxic chemicals or something. I just really think that the government, particularly, you know, agencies like the CIA, the FBI, they have some control when it comes to some of this nonsense that makes the citizens more dependent on the government and kind of creates that dependency that way.
Do you feel like it's so calculated, though, that they get it right?
Yeah.
Like, in the sense, like, they don't want to kill too many people or enough people or whatever, right? But they do it to know that we can have this much of control and we can mitigate this much of a problem.
Well, you have operations like when they went and killed Osama bin Laden, right? That were so well planned and in detail that it was done to the minute planning that they had. And I'm not talking about that like they're going and killing citizens, like they might be, but I'm not making that accusation. What I am saying is that whatever the cause is, okay, whether it is a mass shooting, whether it is like a train derailment, whether it is a terrorist operation, doesn't matter what it is. I firmly believe that the government plans that so well that yes, it creates doubt, that yes, you have the opportunity to say, well, that couldn't be done that way because, but that they do it. And, an example, JFK. I think that JFK was assassinated by U.S. operatives. I don't think one man did it. And I don't want to be the tinfoil hat guy when I'm saying this stuff. It's just sometimes you're looking at some of this information and you're going, that doesn't really add up, and we'll never know the entire story, which creates these conspiracies, right? And so for that, I do think that the U.S. government does create these circumstances.
I can see that. I feel the government covers up more than they create, if that makes sense. So I'll agree with you to a point, but I think like Roswell, right? I believe in it. I believe they cover up enough and don't tell the public as much. And I think that's smart because I feel like
they try to mitigate chaos.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, we told people toilet paper might run out and look what fucking happened.
Right.
Like when they couldn't get ass tissue.
Right.
Like the new one going around about toilet paper. I don't know if you saw that the red and the blue bears represent like different cultures and like different strengths.
Oh,
like somebody posted up on Facebook, not trying to sidetrack either, but like they posted up, I had no idea the bears of Charmin were different colors for different strength of the toilet paper. And then they put it up, of course, Bloods versus Crips. But I didn't know that either.
Actually, I did, because I think the red is 1 ply and the 2 is or the blue is 2 ply.
Great. I just thought it was fucking bears and toilet paper. I didn't really think that far into it.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I try not to get involved with most of them because I do find a lot of them funny. I feel like if you're searching for something, you can make it your effort.
100%.
Like the flat earth thing is one of my favorite things to laugh at. Like, and I love that documentary, like Breaking or whatever, Beyond the Curve or whatever. And they talk to those people, and it's like there's a scientist on that movie that breaks it down perfectly where he says it's easy to come to a conclusion when you already have your conclusion figured out. And your goal is to figure out the answers to that conclusion rather than going, hey, how do we get to an answer?
Right.
You already have the answer and you're trying to make the arrow hit the target already.
Right.
Instead of shooting an arrow going, what target will it hit? So I don't know. I that's what I feel about most conspiracy theories, where it's like, unless you're really digging deep into them, like, do they really matter? Like, the other thing is like, do most of them matter to me? Like mine, and I think if like me and you looked at each other's be weird, mine deal with more supernatural and like creatures and stuff. Like I believe in the Antarctica one where the Russians went down there and they found this new breed of octopus called like Specimen 52 or something, and it killed all these people, and like that's a whole thing. And I'm into that, right? That seems fucking cool. If they tunneled down into the ice, found this new specimen, brought it up, and it killed all these people, and they're using it as a fucking like, military creature or something, which I could believe in. I believe in aliens. I believe in that stuff. Do I believe that, there's a new world order really trying to wipe all of us out? Not really. I don't think humans are, I think people are evil enough. I don't think they're capable enough.
That's a good point. I don't know how far in depth I actually get into some of these conspiracies. I just have one more to bring up. You ever been to the Denver airport?
Yeah, with the weird painting, and it's got like the underground stuff, and there's the apocalyptic painting of the of the dead guy on a horse and the children with the masks.
I don't have a theory here as to what's going on, but what I do know is when the airport was built, it was $2 billion over budget. $2 billion over budget, and it's just a fascinating location. And so I don't know if it has to do something with like, I mean, there's theories about like the Masons have like some sort of operations there. You're talking New World Order stuff. Like, is there an underground base that's there? Like, there's a whole ton of theories, dude. Like, I don't have a guide on which one of them are true or not, but I just think it's fascinating.
I do too. I mean, that one's an interesting one. But I also think, again, that goes into play. Like when people would say like, that Rihanna's like music video Umbrella, she's showing satanic symbols, and it's like, if you freeze frame enough things, like you can see whatever you want, right? Or like the Disney symbol is 666. But my new favorite one that somebody pointed out on our social media was Dana White and his wife slapped each other to promote the slap contest.
Shout out to Moose Lounge.
If that's true, fuck yeah, that is amazing. Yeah,
shout out to Moose
Lounge.
Do
I think it is? No.
Amos over there at Moose Lounge, man, like Moose and Baby Buffalo, they came up with that, and I swear to God, the moment I read that today, I was like, that makes a ton of sense. Like, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey man, let's take a real quick break, and we'll be right back with our everlasting bookshelf.
The world's changing, and it's not necessarily for the better. Cancel culture is out of control. People that are claiming to be woke are actually more divisive and destructive than they will ever admit to. The silent majority is getting fed up. We're tired of normalization of things that should not be acceptable. We're tired of division. We're tired of fighting. A lot of us just wanted to be left alone. A lot of people are worried that they're going to be canceled, that people are going to come for them, that the woke culture is not going to allow them to have a voice or to have an opinion. Too many people in this world have gotten used to the idea that just because they have the loudest voices, they are somehow automatically right. They're way too comfortable using the false front of inclusion or acceptance to try and push hateful, divisive agendas. Instead of focusing on things we all have in common, they want to accent and highlight and push all the differences and forgetting the fact that we're all just people. It's time to bring back common sense. It's time to start focusing on inclusion instead of exclusion. It's time to stop worrying about things that happened generations before any of us were walking the earth. It's time to start holding people responsible for their actions. It's time to have the uncomfortable conversations. It's time to learn and grow and expand. I had to say at the podcast, having the uncomfortable conversations that need to be had. Available wherever you find your podcasts or at ihadtosayitpodcast.com.
Welcome back to the Bleach Brothers Podcast. As teased before our ad there, Jake and I are both avid readers. I think that we both like to go through books. I think you, Jake, like to read more about nonfiction books, and I'm more of a fiction
real shit.
Type of reader. However, I just want to do a check-in here. I want to talk about what were the last 5 books that you read. I'll tell you what the last 5 books that I read are. Maybe just a real quick brief on it. And would you recommend it? Like, is it something that you would recommend somebody else to read? So what was the most recent book you read?
The most recent book I read was one. So me and my wife, a couple months back, I believe, we went on a little it was I think October. We went on an anniversary vacation. We went up to like Oysterville and like through Astoria and stuff. And we ended up finding this antique shop. And I love antique stores. My wife does too. And I sometimes just like to go look at the eclectic shit or whatever. But this was one of the most organized antique shops ever, to where they had every room, not like, you know how people will usually rent out a space, and every room was based on a genre. So there was like a Jesus Christ room. There was a comic room. There was an African room. And there was one for the cooking section. And I got this really old, Essential American Gastronomical Cookbook of Old Fare and How People Ate. And I bought this book and read it. And mind you, it is a cookbook, but it also breaks down why people ate the way they did in the 1800s and the early 1900s and why they cooked it that way and where it came from. So it wasn't just like they said, here's a cornbread recipe, and this was from my grandma, like a stupid blog online. It was like, this is a cornbread recipe, and this corn was usually used for la-da-da-da-da, and it would grow in this region, and here's why. And so every page is almost like a mini encyclopedia. And I found this book, and I found it fascinating because I love American history and American culture. So I had to buy it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's a nice hardback. I like hardcover books. But I've been reading through it, and I'll admit this on the show. I haven't read it all yet because there's so much to it. But it was just one of those fantastic finds in the sense it hit everything I wanted. It was nonfiction. It taught me something. It gave me American history, and it was food. And so it hit all my points. And it's just an amazing book. I will share on the social media a photo of this book that I found because it's big and it's in depth. But it was so cool to see how they wrote it and why.
That's awesome. That's awesome. As football season ended or was ending throughout the playoffs and whatever, I had read one of the books that I'll get into here in a minute, but I switched over to another book, and this is called 12 Mighty Orphans by Jim Dent. And it's actually based on a true story. I think they made a movie out of it. I haven't watched the movie, but it's basically a true story about a football team out of Fort Worth, Texas, called the Mighty Miles. It was during the Great Depression. They didn't have things like shoes and, cleats and equipment and stuff. And through the coaching and determination and several things within the storyline, they ended up making it to the state championships. And it was just a phenomenal story of overcoming obstacles. And the fact that it was a true story was really fascinating to me. I love Depression era stuff for some reason. Like, one of my favorite books is Of Mice and Men. And I just like that time period when it comes into reading. And so for me, it hit that. It was a true story. It's about the sport I love, football. It's about overcoming obstacles, which is a great thing. I definitely recommend to read this if you haven't. It's called 12 Mighty Orphans by Jim Dent.
Nice. My next one's by a comedian. And I've owned this book for years. It was one of those ones when I was in the store. It was cheap. Yeah, I thought it would be a coffee table book. And I go back to it every now and then. And it was by Dennis Leary, or he goes by it in the cover, Dr. Dennis Leary. You know, he got the PhD or whatever, but it's Why We Suck, a feel-good guide to staying fat, loud, lazy, and stupid America. Just great fucking satire in the sense of realism, if that makes sense. Like, he goes through the whole thing about like autism, and people hated him for it. Like, how some of them are just assholes. Like, you don't need to be autistic to be a fucking idiot or an asshole. And you don't have to have an excuse for everything. And it's one of those eye-opening moments of like, yeah, we are fat, dumb, lazy, and stupid at times. And we do suck. And let's poke fun at it. I think we've lost humor in the world. And so it's one of those, it's an easy coffee table read. I fucking love the book though. I highly recommend it. I think it's like $3 on Amazon right now, but it's a good little book.
Nice. The one that I read right before 12 Mighty Orphans was actually an audiobook. I'm just going to be candid. I decided that I wanted to just listen to the book as opposed to read it, which isn't my typical thing to do, but I read one other book that's on the list in that manner, and so I decided to do this. Swagger by Jimmy Johnson. It's his autobiography. Jimmy Johnson's the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, former head coach of the Miami Dolphins. He's an amazing person. And when I say that, I don't mean that because like I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I just mean that in the way that he interacts with people, he demands their best. But when he does that, he also shows them the care and concern for them. And so there was an instance where he was recruiting a kid when he was the coach in Florida, and he knew that the kid's father died. And forgive me, I don't remember the player's name, but he knew that the kid's father died. And the way that he was able to step in as a coach to not only give him the coaching that he needed to be a good player, but to also get him the coaching that he needed from a fatherly figure was just a tremendous illustration of who this guy was in his character. Swagger by Jimmy Johnson was a great read. It was really simple, really easy. But I would recommend it in a sense that if you like autobiographies that don't just say, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, and really start to tell like little stories and parables and all that sort of stuff around why some decisions that they made or about things that incorporated their character, Swagger is an awesome read. I read it on Audible. If you have a chance to read it there, great. Otherwise, if you like hardcover or softcover, I'd recommend it there too.
Nice. My next one's almost like a self-help book. It's written by Carlos Whitaker, and it's called Kill the Spider, Getting Rid of What Really is Holding You Back. My wife bought me this book. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show. I know because this is recent reads, and I reread books a lot to find what I missed or if I just enjoyed it. But it was one of those books where she bought it for me to get out of my own head. And I'll say it starts out, he's very religious and there is a lot of those tones, but like when you start reading from this man's perspective of how to be a man and a father and a better person and all these things, and not like in that way, like you should go do this. And this is step one. It's pretty much just him laying it out, what he's done, how he's fucked up, why, what he's done to be better. And the way he writes it puts you in a perspective of yourself where you can review an overview for yourself without being too preachy. And so I really enjoyed the book. Like I said, I'm not a proponent. I mean, like I said, I read a lot of nonfiction, but I'm not usually of the proponent of like self-help and like reading things to not like fix myself, I guess. I don't seek those out. But I was surprised when my wife bought it for me and said, hey, I think you should check this out. And she didn't like give me a huge explanation. Like you need to read this to be better. It was just, maybe this might, like clear your head up with some things sometimes. And it did. It was one of those, I was fascinated that I actually liked it because I read the back and went, and I set it aside for a long time. And then I started reading it and I was like, about chapter 3. And it wasn't that he wasn't a great writer and I wasn't interested. It just took me a while. But when I finally delved deep into it, it was fucking amazing. So I would recommend that book as well.
I like that. The book that I read right before Swagger was called The Cherokee Removal. It's written by Michael D. Green. It's a very short read. I think it's probably 120 pages. It's not very long at all. But it is a historical book. It's one of the ones that I actually purchased while I was in college that I needed to use for some research that I was doing on Native Americans. And with the Native American heritage that I have with my family, I wanted to kind of read a little bit more into this book other than just getting the references that I needed for that term paper, if that makes sense. And so I really read about the backstory of why the Cherokee Trail of Tears. And man, it just sucks that these people were oppressed in that way. They were basically, told to leave their land or else. And a lot of them did. But a lot of, the ideals of the Native American tribes were very much not aligning with the federal government. The federal government really wanted to establish its own way of doing things in the world. And that just the tribal lands and the tribal leaders didn't agree with that. And this ended up in a very bloody mess for the Cherokee. It was very, very interesting read for the historical purpose, but also a sad read considering what the Cherokee people had to go through. So The Cherokee Removal by Michael D. Green, again, very short read. If you're into history, if you're into Native American history specifically, this one's a good one for you.
My next one, I'm pretty sure I've talked about. I know I've talked to you about this book. I've talked on our Discord about this book. Second time going through it. Love this book. Now, I will say this is from a Spanish translation, but it's called Tender is the Flesh. This is one of the few books that I've read that is that's fiction. And it is essentially about a dystopian future where meat is poisonous to everybody, and the only meat people can consume is human flesh. And it goes through the aspects from somebody. It starts out really heavy in the sense that it's a butcher, like slaughter guy who has to live with himself knowing that he goes to human farms and they harvest people to eat and they're alive and they go through the whole story of that. And it's funny because, I work in an industry where I work with meat and slaughterhouses and stuff. And I could see myself, like, how would I react if the future was where we had to kill people and eat them? And would I be one of those people? Like they talk about protesters, like people are against this and they're sitting on the streets protesting and people are laughing at them. And it's like, people just accept it. And it's weird. There's a whole chapter where he's talking to this Japanese dealer who cares more about the skin of people, of how he can sell it to be on a couch, and how they grade people's skin based on their race and if they're beaten, and like they're like sitting at a table, wow, like reviewing it. And it's very intense. And it was written by Augustine. I'm going to say her name wrong. I think it's Baz Terrica. Like I said, it's a Spanish translation, but they did a very good job. I think it's a Spanish translation. They did a very good job of the translation of coming over. And I mean, there are parts you can probably tell like that's a little roughly written, but a great book. And like I said, it's rare that I read fiction, but it was just an interesting topic that a friend told me I need to check out. And I did, and I'm happy I did. And it, like I said, it's an intense fucking book. And I could see there was one of those books while I was reading it going, this would make a fucking killer movie.
Yeah, that sounds
and I imagined
interesting.
I imagined every character. It's just beautifully written in the way, like when they're even talking about somebody smoking a cigarette, it's one of those, like she writes a whole enveloped scene, and I really enjoyed that book.
Nice. The book that I read right before this, right before the Cherokee Removal, was called The Boys from Biloxi. It's a fiction novel by John Grisham. It's a legal thriller, if you will. It has to do with the mafia or the Biloxi mafia or whatever that is down there. It did a great job. This book, it was about a 24 to 28 hour read, depending on, how long you're putting into it, and of course, and how fast you're reading. But this this read was interesting in the fact that it really spelled out 3 or 4 generations of these families that the story involves. And so basically you had the lineage aspect of how these families are intertwined and their histories together and how they played on a baseball team together and like all this sort of stuff. And it basically deals with 2 main characters, or 4 main characters really, but father and son on both of these 2 families. And one of them is the district attorney and his son becomes a district attorney. And the other one is, Dixie Mafia, and the other one becomes a Dixie Mafia. It becomes his number 2 and ends up becoming the number 1. It was a great story. The ending was great. John Grissom's a great author. If you like fiction, specifically like legal dramas and stuff. Absolutely, I would recommend this one. It was fun. There were parts of it that were funny. There were parts of it that were slow, but you get through it, and it was really, really, really good. I enjoyed the entire thing. I remember I was unable to just continue reading at times where I just really wanted to. And when I wasn't reading about it, I was thinking about the storyline, and it was really, really good there. So I'm just going to give my last book, Jake, and then we'll finish with yours.
Okay.
The book that I read right before that is Matthew McConaughey's autobiography. It's called Green Lights.
Okay.
I think I may have talked about this on the show before. But basically, Matthew McConaughey obviously has had kind of a wild life. He's not only a very famous actor in Hollywood, he's had an interesting upbringing. He's had a lot of success. He's had a lot of things that have dealt with his life. And in Green Lights, he really talks about certain scenarios and certain situations that helped him to, or guided him to make certain decisions in his life. And he called these the Green Lights. It's a great autobiography. I get a kick out of Matthew McConaughey. I think that he is a really good human just in general. And I thought it was a great read. Some people might not like it just because, they might not like Matthew McConaughey or they might not like the writing style, but I really enjoyed the book. As far as an autobiography goes, it wasn't just that, again, put lipstick on a pig. This is what I did. Here's how it went. This is what I did. Here's how it went. There was meaning behind each chapter, and I really appreciated that. So Green Lights was my 5th book that I've read recently. Jake, what's your final book?
My last one is called An Immense World, and it's by Ed Yong. It's essentially how animals' senses reveal the hidden realms around us. Another nonfiction piece, but it explains how humans view the world and how animals and other creatures and stuff view it differently, and how they act differently, and how we might sense things and they don't. I mean, I remember one part of it, they talk about scallops and how they grow up in the world and stuff, but like how some can have like 10 eyes, and then the same species or someone else can have 1,000 eyes. And so it's like little things like how you perceive things, but how also the animal world and nature perceives and can sense things. And it's just interesting. It was a very, in my opinion, a thought-provoking piece, just in the sense of like learning more about the world. I'll admit, when I picked it up, I was like, okay, this seems a little cool. But then I was also like, if it's about auras and shit, I'm fucking out, because I'm not like a gym rubber. Like, I'm not into that. But I actually really enjoyed it because it explained a lot of things in a different way that I didn't expect. And it gave me a perspective, and I enjoyed it. And he's a great writer. I mean, I believe he's won a Pulitzer Prize, not for this book, but another. And so I do appreciate things like that, because I think that's a proven track record. It doesn't feel like just an award that they give to anybody because he's popular. I feel like if you're a good writer, everybody knows it. And they can follow that. I mean, there's a reason why, I don't remember, Nicholas Sparks can write every fucking woman novel ever, because he does a good job and women keep reading it. It's not just, he can spout out almost the same story, but he writes it so well that you believe it and fall for it and all that. And this was written in a way where at times it felt like fiction, even though it was nonfiction. And I liked that.
I dig it. Well, Jake, that brings us to the end of our episode. Again, I just want to shout out all of our patrons. Thank you so much for supporting us and what we do. We hope that you're enjoying the content that's coming out. And with that, Jake, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk, and come back and get sanitized. This is Jake from the Bleach Bros Podcast, and thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to bring to your attention our Linktree. Visit Linktree/Bleach Bros Podcast for access to all of our socials, merch, and streaming sites. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros Podcast. All one word. And if you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like, give us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, and also invite your friends.